Good morning. I am MD and this is the Fourth Branch Project. The passing of a hero. At the age of 81, on Saturday, August 25th, 2018, John McCain, former senator of Arizona, died of glioblastoma, a very aggressive form of tumor. The funeral for John McCain will go through a series of events. It's already on the way. The first 4 days of his funeral start at the Arizona State Capitol, where his body will lie there on Wednesday. And on Thursday, there will be in Phoenix, Arizona, a ceremony or a funeral services. And after that, his body will be flown to Washington, D.C., where it will lie at the U.S. State Capitol. And on Saturday, there will be a funeral service at the Washington National Cathedral, and he will be buried at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, where it all started for John. In words and in deeds, John lives as a hero, serves honorably, and died courageously. John McCain is not a hero because someone decided to call him such. John McCain is not a hero because he served in the armed forces. John McCain is not a hero because he was captured. Thousands, through decades, thousands have served in the armed forces. Not every single one of them is called a hero. The word hero has been used, misused, abused, which tend to minimize the importance of calling John McCain a hero. For instance, someone who helped a little old lady cross the street is called a hero. A police officer who gave a few pennies to a homeless, a pair of gloves, a shirt, or a jacket is called a hero. A firefighter who helped to extinguish the fire and save people from a burning building is called a hero. Now, all of those actions are good actions that are done by individuals, by human beings, but those are not heroic action. The firefighter is expected to go into a burning building and save people. The police officer is expecting to protect people. Those are not heroic acts, because the word has been misused and abused. Calling anybody a hero tend to make it of lesser importance. But we're using the word hero for McCain in the most noble aspect of the word. A hero is someone who sacrifices his or her own life for the sake of others. A hero is someone who goes beyond the call of duty for others. McCain did that. We all know the story of McCain in Vietnam. He could have saved his own life. He could have escaped torture, but he chose not to because he wanted to be with his comrades, with his colleagues. McCain is a hero because he lived the life of a hero. He's not a hero because he was a senator in Washington. Today, we have many of senators, many congressmen in Washington, none of them deserve to be called a hero. McCain is a hero because he put his country first. In every circumstance, McCain forget about himself. McCain wasn't running a popularity contest in Washington. He was in Washington just as he was in Vietnam to serve his country. McCain shows his love for the country in every aspect of his life. Many, including the current President of the United States, avoided to serve the country, to go in the military, concocted a story about having bone spur. Many have done that to avoid serving. McCain served honorably at a time when he could have left Vietnam after his plane was shut down. But he stayed there. It was tortured with the others, and he knew that he may not come back home. But he chose that path anyway. At a time when it was much too easy. The war in Vietnam was not approved by the Americans. There were protests all over the place here in the United States against the war in Vietnam. McCain knew that. He could have used that as an excuse to come back home. He stayed to fight because that's what his government told him. He was fighting for the sake of the country. McCain is a hero not because someone wanted to attribute that to him because he died. McCain lived as a hero. He was a patriot before all. In Washington, McCain did not, as many have done today, side with his party. He was a Republican, but McCain was known to side with the Democrat when it benefits the country, because McCain lived as a patriot first, as an American first, not as a Republican first. Even at the end of his life, McCain proved that illness could not change his life as a hero. When Donald Trump went to Helsinki, Finland, and with his performance degrading the country, denigrating the country, humiliating the agencies which serve to protect the country, nobody in Washington raised their voices to defend the United States, to tell Donald Trump that was wrong. John McCain, despite an illness that was sure to take his life, raised his voice and condemned Donald Trump's behavior, because John McCain is an American first. He is a patriot. He loved the United States. He didn't pretend. It wasn't a pretense. He loved the United States. John McCain was not a saint. He knew that. He admitted that. He is a hero, not a saint. He made many mistakes in his life. He had many flaws, but he is a hero. If you want to argue he was not a saint, you win that argument, and John McCain would have gone along with your argument. But he is a hero with flaws. We need other John McCains in this country. Today, it is critical to have other John McCain. Unfortunately, today in Washington, we have just lost probably the last voice of reason in Washington. We must have lost the last voice of reason in Washington. John McCain is not a hero because we say he is. There was a time when there were other people in Washington who seemed to have understood the importance of putting the country first. Not too long ago, during the 2016 presidential election, maybe it was just politics. Maybe it was just politics. But a few individuals who ran for public office, who ran for the Oval Office, had a similar, comparable message as John McCain. In words, they say they wanted to put the country first.
We are not going to turn over the conservative movement to a con artist who is telling people one thing but has spent 40 years sticking it to working Americans and now claims to be their champion. We are not going to turn over the conservative movement to a con artist who is telling people one thing but has spent 40 years sticking it to working Americans and now claims to be their champion.
What if hip-hop never existed? Do you think there'd be as many heads screaming out, stop snitching? What if Adam and Eve ain't eat the fruit?
I'm not going to try to get into the mind of Donald Trump because I don't think there's a whole lot of space there. I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office. And I'm a Republican and he's not. He's not a conservative Republican. He's an opportunist. He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and 25 to 30% of the people would still follow him because he gives voice to their anger and their frustration. But he's not fit to be President of the United States.
I'm going to tell you what I really think of Donald Trump. This man is a pathological liar. He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth. And in a pattern that I think is straight out of a psychology textbook, his response is to accuse everybody else of lying. He accuses everybody on that debate stage of lying. And it's simply a mindless yell. Whatever he does, he accuses everyone else of doing. The man cannot tell the truth, but he combines it with being a narcissist. A narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham, they all recognize the importance of standing up for the country. Maybe they were just talking politics. Maybe that's all it was. Maybe they didn't care. Maybe they were just trying to score political points. Because today, when it is urgent, when it is critical, when it is necessary for senators, congressmen in Washington to raise their voices and say, this is not, Donald Trump behavior is not acceptable. John McCain recognized that because he always put the country first. That's what makes John McCain a hero. Not because he didn't have flaws, not because he didn't have aspiration like everybody else. He ran for president. He went through the same brutal process as everybody else. But John McCain recognized, above all, the United States of America matters most. That's what makes him a hero. John McCain doesn't pick a fight with anybody for the sake of picking a fight. John McCain doesn't hold grudges during his time, even in his illness. He voted Republican when he had to vote Republican, and he voted with the Democrat when it was more beneficial for the country. This is what John McCain left as example for the rest of the senators in Washington. Yesterday on the Senate floor, Lindsey Graham, in an emotional statement to remember John McCain, demurred that he would like to be John McCain. A McCain, he feel like a McCain. In words, but John McCain, both in words and in deeds, live as a patriot first, as an American first. The framers of the Constitution set the US government in such a way when we have a rogue executive branch, the legislative branch can rein in on that branch of government in order to preserve the Union. John McCain recognized that is more important than going along with a Republican president. John McCain is, by definition, what a Republican used to be. It typifies, it embodies the values of the Republican Party. Today, that only exists in words. There is no Republican Party. There is no one in Washington today that's making any effort to preserve the values of the Republican Party. Even the people who call themselves evangelicals, who are supposed to abide by Christian principle, have abandoned any semblance. They're not even trying to pretend. Not even in words are there any Republican in Washington. Today, we remember John McCain as a hero because he lived the life of a hero. Even in his campaign in 2008, his slogan was country first. Yes, John McCain has had many flaws, but John McCain, above all, is a hero. He lived the life of a hero. In April of this year, John McCain made a call to Barack Obama, 44th President of the United States, the man he lost the presidency to. John McCain asked Obama for a very difficult favor. Sometimes it's even impossible to understand how someone can address this type of issue alive. John McCain asked Obama if he would deliver a eulogy at his funeral. This is a weird request, don't you think? It is a weird request, especially to the man he lost the presidency in 2008. But that request tell you exactly who John McCain is. He doesn't hold grudges, and he reaches beyond political party to get something done. It is amazing, isn't it? John McCain was not without enemies. I'm sure he had many. In fact, just this morning I was reading someone tried to resurface a debunked rumor about John McCain in Vietnam, which accused him of killing the members of the armed forces who were with him at that time in Vietnam during the war. So there is no lack of detractors. John McCain had no lack of enemies, but he lived as if everybody was his friend. John McCain, after losing the 2008 election to Barack Obama, he made a memorable speech. And it wasn't just any speech, any concession speech. Most people who would lose an election would want to just give a concession speech and get it over with. John McCain fought to become the 44th President of the United States, an honor that was denied to him by the first black president. He could have held grudges. He could have done like everybody else in his party did. We remember Mitch McConnell, the first thing that came out of his mouth, that not to congratulate Barack Obama, not to work with the new president to help advance the agenda of the country, but rather to say his primary agenda was to deny Obama a second term. John McCain, on the other hand, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, Barack Obama is my president and I will do everything possible to help him succeed. What a difference. John McCain loved the country. He died a hero. It's not just a label attached to him because he died. It's not just a label attached to him because he was in the military. It's not a label attached to him because he fought the war in Vietnam. It's not a label that was attached to John McCain because he was captured. John McCain lived the life of a hero. He lived with decency, with honor, and he lived with a conscious mind. Every single day, his action had to reflect his love for the country. John McCain would be the first to tell you he had many disagreements with Barack Obama. He expressed such during the general election, during debates. But John McCain shut down a woman who tried to portray Obama as a terrorist in public. He didn't go along with it when we remember very clearly his running mate Sarah Palin was going around saying exactly that. John McCain shut down a supporter who tried to paint Obama as a terrorist. John McCain is not a hero because he was captured. John McCain is a hero because he is a patriot first. John McCain called Obama on April 2018, a few months before his death, to ask him for a simple favor nobody would have refused anyway, to deliver one of the eulogies at his funeral. It's a weird request. Maybe he sensed there would be no cure then. Maybe he wasn't making enough progress. Maybe he wasn't making enough progress, so he knew he would die eventually. And yet, on July 16 in Helsinki, Finland, when Donald Trump denigrated the United States, when Donald Trump elevated Vladimir Putin, when Donald Trump devalued the agencies which protect the nation, John McCain was lucid enough to remind America that Donald Trump's behavior was not acceptable. Above all, John McCain lived as a hero. This is not just anybody. It is a hero the nation has lost. We'll remember John McCain every time we see Donald Trump going in a rampage and there is no one in Washington to put a check on him, to make a statement, to let him know that it is not acceptable for him to destroy the Republic. We will remember John McCain every time Donald Trump decides to attack the Department of Justice, to attack the judges, to attack the Democrats, to attack anybody who opposes his views. we will remember John McCain, because John McCain, in words and in deeds, lived as a hero. He served in the armed forces, served in the Senate honorably. Today we honor John McCain. He died courageously. So long, John. So long. In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airwaves with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies, presenting to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a recent survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore.